Business Insights on Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com.au. My guest today is Robyn Djelassi.
Well done, Rose. Well done.
She is going to be talking to us about heavy-hitting HR and talent professionals who know their stuff and get things done. And her business is called Impact People Solutions. I'm waiting to hear all the things that Robyn has to share with us about HR. Having myself done a diploma of HR, so I know the little ins and outs and everything. So she's going to be talking to us about why senior HR is so important, why they provide no BS HR, and that they have seen nearly everything in HR. So why do customers keep coming back? Robyn, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Talking with the Experts.
Hi, Rose. Thank you for having me. And well done, surname. That was pretty impressive. Djelassi, well done.
Thanks.
It's great to be here. I didn't realize that you had actually studied human resources as well. How interesting.
Yes, I did some time ago, back in the 2000s. I went through, did a 12-month diploma and got my certificate and everything, and was very, very proud, thinking that I was going to change the world, and that didn't happen.
No, look, I actually got my start, believe it or not. I studied computer science, not HR. And then I thought, well, I better, I'm pretty good at this stuff, this computer science stuff. I lied to myself. And I thought, I'll go get some experience while I'm still studying at university. And I went to an IT recruitment agency. And I thought, that'll help me find jobs, computer jobs, right? I ended up working for the agency. And I thought, I'm going to change the world and I'm going to help people find jobs. That was not what recruitment agencies were about. It took me about a week to figure out it was a sales role. So yes, we all fall into roles thinking we're going to change the world. It's not always the case, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's not so easy to get into HR either.
No.
They when you're doing your course, they're telling you that it is so easy, but it isn't, because a lot of HR roles are specialized, and even trying to get in on the ground floor, unless you have something really special to offer the organization, it can be quite a challenge.
Absolutely. And I think probably the key for me when I think about HR and those moving into the profession, I think about commercial acumen. And so when I'm hiring for my business impact, I'm not necessarily looking for the warmest, fuzziest person who can give the best HR hugs. That's not the job. I'm looking for an individual who understands business and who understands the numbers, can read a P&L, can understand a balance sheet, and know the levers that we can pull to help the business be successful. And we do that through the people. So it is difficult to get into unless you understand commercials. I believe so anyway. That's important.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, for me, I'm not necessarily the warmest and fuzziest person. I do like a hug, and I've been told I give excellent hugs.
However, that.
Not how I, work within an organization. And I like facts and figures. And I think, a lot of people just want the warm, as you say, the warm and fuzzy stuff. And, it can be, difficult for people who are not the warm and fuzzy type to, actually get their foot in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, because it is a misconception that the role is to be a parent figure and to just care for the people. Absolutely. That's a component of everybody's role in an organization. It's not the core responsibility of HR. In fact, just before I jumped on to chat with you, I was on the phone with a wonderful friend of mine who I've worked with previously at an organization, and she was asking me for some advice about an employee who had written to her and the CEO very unhappy about their remuneration, their salary, and had very clearly used ChatGPT, by the way, to construct an argument that came off as pretty aggressive, to the CEO and the head of HR. And she said, Rob, how would you manage this? And I said, well, you take a breath and you take the emotion out of it. Because for the individual, it's really emotional. And the expectation might be that you jump in and make it okay for them. But that, my dear, is a grown adult. And you will treat that person like a grown adult. You're in no rush to respond. Take your time. Take a breath. It's not emotional for you. And then you respond to that grown adult the way that's best. So it's not always about making things okay for you. Sometimes it's holding a mirror up and just acting with dignity and grace in the moment and letting you figure it out for yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of emotion in the things to do with HR, like remuneration and benefits and, leave entitlements and, the boss is giving you a hard time and you have to prove, that this boss is giving you a hard time. And there's a lot of emotion behind a lot of, they are sort of complaints, but issues, concerns that staff members may have that they take to HR. And I think it can be difficult to remove the emotion because for this particular person, it's quite an emotional subject. And
I agree.
For us to deal with it as HR professionals, you need to, as you say, take the emotion out of it. And that can be difficult, especially if you know the person and you know that they are, and you know the person well, and you know their background and their history, to take that emotion out of the argument and not get involved yourself with the whole hype of what's happening.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky, the whole palaver, as we like to call it. And, we need to acknowledge the emotions. We spend a lot of time at work and we invest ourselves into that work. It's personal. Work is always personal, or at least it has been always to me. And the people I work with are just as important as the work I do. And I acknowledge those feelings, particularly when it comes to salary, because we all have commitments, whether they be family, aging parents. We all have our own commitments that we need to meet. And so the role for HR is to balance that empathy, and it's genuine empathy, particularly, as you say, if you know the person well. But even if you don't, as a human being there who's invested so much time and care into their work, balancing that with the needs of the business. And that is a really tricky space and a really fine line to walk. And so we always acknowledge the emotions. It's difficult not to put yourself into the individual's shoes. As humans, we do. But having said that, it's not always the right thing to just say, okay, you can have X because I know you personally, I like you, and I know your situation, because internal parities matter as well. And you need to maintain consistency. And at the end of the day, you're running a business. If you're treating your staff well and providing safety psychologically and physically, working with respect, and offering them a great environment as well as fair pay, then you've met your obligations. And we need to understand that sometimes that's not enough for everybody, and that's okay too. That's okay. Absolutely. We all have decisions to make. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of private HR organisations, as you like yourself, and then there are the ones that are actually built into the organisation. What are the differences, or are there differences between the two, then private and organisational?
Consulting. Yeah, sure. So look, my whole career has been internal human resources. So generally within the tech industry, I started my first real HR job outside of, horrible recruitment. I was terrible at it. Was that of HR director for a wonderful business called Unico Computer Systems. They were recently acquired actually by CGI, but they were a privately owned tech business based in Melbourne with operations in Sydney as well, of around 200 people. And they were predominantly professional services in telco and technology. Okay, so I was their HR director my first role. And since then, I've moved through various businesses, taking a particular business from Series B to IPO, to list on the ASX. And best job of my life was working for a company called Vino Mofo, which is a wine e-commerce company. And I was their chief people officer for some 4 years. So most of my experience has been sitting on executive teams internally for businesses as their chief people officer or their head of HR. But I decided to start my own thing, thinking I might slow down for a little while. It didn't turn out that way. But to answer your question, the key differences for me are that I get to now share the knowledge that I have and that my team has, because we don't have any juniors in our business. We are all battle-scarred, grey-haired ladies of a certain age, shall we say, Rose. We get to share that breadth of experience and the learnings with various businesses and apply our skills to industries we wouldn't have worked in otherwise or had known otherwise. And it's incredibly refreshing to know that people are the same no matter where you go, and the problems are the same, right? And so are the solutions generally in every organization. So the difference for me is that I am managing multiple stakeholders with multiple different cultures. However, and various concerns as well as strengths. And we are able to apply our knowledge to each of those really quickly in a way that is fit for purpose, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all. So for me, it's more fulfilling, believe it or not, because I'm able to do hopefully good stuff with tons of clients now, not just the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd like to work in a consulting firm if I ever went back to HR. I think because you get to work with a lot of different types of industries and organisations. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And you know, you can only broaden your own knowledge by doing that, rather than being stuck in an organisation that only just, you know, deals with the one thing. And I know that burnout is a big thing in HR, with HR professionals, especially within organisations. I think with a consultancy, you'd be more prone to step back from something if, you know, you found that you were coming to the point where you just couldn't continue on.
Yeah, look, burnout is very real in our profession. And, you know, we're not the most loved profession. We're a little bit like journalists to some extent, you know, or parking inspectors, and that's okay. But burnout is very real. And, you know, I've spoken about this often, but I have ocular migraines, which are silent migraines brought on by stress. I have lost 3 teeth through stress. And so when people laugh and say it's just an admin function or what have you, the work is very real. And as I said, it's very personal. I have experienced things, people who have self-harmed, Rose. I have experienced people who are grieving very recently, grieving the loss of parents or loved ones, who've experienced pregnancy loss, who, you know, there is a myriad of situations that we in human resources face, and we are not trained psychologists, most of us. Yeah. And as I said, you know, warm and fluffy is not necessarily a skill that we are taught at university. It's not something you're taught. And we are asked to face these things very regularly. Even looking at somebody who you've worked with for many years and telling them that their role is redundant is heartbreaking. And that's not to take away from the individual receiving that news. Right? We don't get me wrong. I'm not saying please feel sorry for us, but I am saying that it is incredibly difficult for us. And so being a consultant does give you a little bit of distance from that stuff personally. However, the emotions are the same. We're still human. Yeah. So burnout's real, and it's something that we battle with. And I tell you what, there's nothing like a good Pilates class and a walk around the block. It makes you feel so much better.
Throwing session or go to you can baseball bat, you know,
absolutely. Yeah, I've done that. That's a bit of fun, actually. We did that for Mother's Day. with my children. Yeah, it works. It works. So it's real. And we, but we love it. You have to love it to do this job for sure.
Yeah, you do. You do. So why is a senior HR person so important, either as a consultant or within an organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because, and I'll give you a really short answer, AI. AI. People often ask me whether I am concerned that AI will take the job of HR. And I say, please do. Please take all of the grunts and the admin away. I am here for it, Rose. Please. In fact, I'm working with a wonderful business called Inventium right now. And I'm sure you've heard of Amantha Imber, the CEO. She runs a business podcast, How I Work. And so it's her business. And we are running a generative AI course for HR pros because I am all about it. Let's teach AI professionals how to use AI ethically and responsibly to take away all of that repetitive grunt work that we need to do, whether it be designing policies, refreshing them, understanding the Fair Work Act. We can build GPTs for all of those things. Why do you need senior people, though, to answer your question? If AI is going to take that grunt away, because there isn't much we haven't seen. And we understand people, we've made the mistakes. So, for example, when a leader comes to me and says, hey, Rob, I think I need to restructure my business. Can you help me? I'll say, okay, let's have a look at it. I understand the commercials and I understand what it takes to run a business and what you do and don't need. We'll go through that process together. And then I know the people and I can work with that business to say, here's how we would do it gracefully and with much dignity and respect to everybody impacted. ChatGPT can't give you that nuance. It can write the scripts for you. It can give you a great timeline, even a communication plan. But what it can't do is the human stuff. And I believe it takes somebody who's been there before, who really understands people to do it well. And so that's what my business does. Our service CPO Connect, Chief People Officer Connect, is about connecting businesses with their own seasoned, makes me think of KFC, 13 seasoned spices, connecting businesses with their own super experienced human, HR human. Use AI for the rest. We got you. That's okay. That stuff can be outsourced if you like. But the real human stuff, we're here for it. Give me a call. You're not sure how to have that tough conversation with the guy who keeps turning up late. ChatGPT can give you some prompts, but they're not going to know exactly how to do it. And we can talk you through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love AI. It's become.
Yes, so do I.
If I'm having a bad day, I'll, put it in the chat and no judgment.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I have wonderful conversations with Claude. Have you tried Claude yet?
No.
Claude is a wonderful tool. And Rose, please don't think I'm crazy. Maybe you already do, but I will talk to him. So I will speak into my phone to provide the instructions. Because if you've probably already picked up, I talk a lot. I talk quicker than I type, certainly. And I'll have conversations with Claude to get to the outcome that I need. I love AI as well. No judgment. It's great.
Yeah, no, I talk to mine. I've even named mine. So,
have you? What's the name of your AI?
Scott.
Oh, I love that, Scotty. All right.
Yeah, he was when I was 10 years old. That was the name of my boyfriend at the time.
Rose, are you still in touch with Scott?
No.
Oh, I hope he's listening. Hi, Scott, if you are. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, that's great. No, I think AI is, if used ethically and responsibly, it can do some great stuff for us. We have to be careful what we feed the beast, particularly in HR, because personal information is for us only. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see where AI can be very helpful in the HR role in that, as you say, policies, procedures, SOPs, all those things, give it an instruction and let it write it for you rather than, having to sit there and do all that mundane work because, seriously, I know how boring it can be and how like mind boggling it can become. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dull, right? And particularly when you want to get to the meaty stuff. We want to do the good stuff. We want to do
Mm.
the things that really make change. So I'm using AI and at the moment for various things. A gentleman who works at Inventium that is helping to run the course is a gentleman by the name of Nigo Applin. And I just told you I worked with Unico. It was my first job in HR. And I met Neo about, gosh, 15, 16 years ago there. And we're still friends today. So he runs the AI course for HR professionals as well as more broadly. He's written a bunch of GPTs for us. So we can do things like review policies. We can create them. We have a GPT for development plans. We have a GPT for succession planning. We have, you name it, he has created a GPT for it. And all of the participants in this AI masterclass are raving about the technology and what he's created for us because it's freed up hours of our time to do the really high impact stuff and work with the humans. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And having, I mean, even as a small business with, one or two people, having HR, an HR role, like somebody take on that role to do the policies, procedures, SOPs, because you still need them. Even
Yep.
if you're only a two-man team or even a one-man team, SOPs are so important for succession planning because, if you ever sell your business, you've got those things in place. Or if you to outsource things. But people don't realize that they need to have those types of documents in place to, further their business.
Absolutely, Rose. And importantly, your obligations are the same. So any business under 15 people in Australia is considered a small business. And there is some wiggle room there on your responsibilities and obligations to employees, as you know. However, anything over that, and sorry, I digress. The obligations are minimized only by about a centimeter.
Yeah,
You absolutely still need to be responsible as an employer. However, anything over that, your obligations do increase slightly. And so, there was a case recently in New South Wales where a small business was fined by SafeWork $100,000 for not having an anti-discrimination policy or grievance procedure in place. There was no training, nothing. And so having received a complaint of discrimination, they investigated and that business was fined $100,000. Now, I don't know about your business, but that would really hurt mine. My
they'd be hard pressed to
goodness.
get $100,000 out of me.
Yeah, likewise. I'll be washing dishes for a while, for a while. And so, that was a small business that was sub 15. So these fines are very real. And we're seeing more and more of these things happening. So having somebody on call that you can talk to. And the first thing that we do with our clients is we will do a full review of their compliance. I call that the not get sued stuff. So show me what you've got in terms of policies and procedures, and we will review everything and make sure that you are protected, as are your people, equally as important. And I'm finding that if there's nothing there, that's okay. We will just give you ours. And then we will train you and your people to meet that bar of all reasonable steps, that threshold. And I'm also seeing that many businesses are overdue with their respect at work compliance. Look at you smiling. You know what I'm talking about. We're 3 years overdue at this point. Come on, get up to speed. And so, we can run risk assessments, which you are obliged to do, and put in place the proactive steps to meet your duty, proactive duty, and likewise with psychological safety. And so, no matter how big your organization, your obligations to your employees remain the same to some extent. And then, once we've done that with our customers, then we're just on call when you need us. And because we're not a call center, we're not a bunch of juniors, you get a direct mobile number to your HR person. It's a virtual thing that we do. We know you, we know your business because it's one-on-one. Then we answer all the tricky questions that you might have. So for small businesses, as you say, just having that sounding board or that trusted advisor is often all that's needed. Even larger organizations, might not need a full-time person. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. And I think my daughter's working, she went into HR as well, and she's working for
Oh,
a health company,
okay.
insurance company. And she said that they're just so old fashioned, they're living back in the 1950s still.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, so, and, their policies and procedures are just so out of date. But
Oh,
as a an admin, she's really hasn't got much say in how
yeah.
the business is progressing. So
Mm.
it frustrates her a little bit.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, it's
yeah.
tough to keep up. Things change so quickly, so rapidly. Recently, University of Technology Sydney, UTS, announced they were going to make some 150 redundancies. They were restructuring. And again, Safe Work New South Wales issued a prohibition order to stop that process from taking place while they investigated because the risk to psychological health. Now, a couple of years ago, that would be mind blowing. It probably still is a little bit now, but things are moving so quickly with legislation that we need to keep up. So I'm sure it didn't take them long to fall so far behind because it changes so rapidly. And it's our job to keep up to date, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And it can be quite a challenge sometimes when you're working across borders, because not all rules are the same in all
Mm.
locations. So, you've got to be across absolutely everything.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully, we're not as bad as the US. The US is very tricky. We've recently bought, I'm signing an NDA. I'm not allowed to tell you the name of the company, Rose, but there's a very cool streetwear brand um, who may have a creator, I said the word creator, with 18 million Instagram followers. This particular brand, we are their HR business partner, and they've just landed in Sydney. And we've been dealing with the team in the US, so LA and New York, and they're blown away by our employment legislation. That things are pretty similar in New South Wales to wherever else, in the country. So just the work health and safety, OH&S acts and stuff might be slightly different, and long service leave, etc. Because in the US, and I've worked with the US before, you can go into another town and the legislation is completely different. So we're pretty fortunate here. But yeah, when the team came out from the States and I was trying to educate them on how things work here with modern awards and better off overall tests, they couldn't believe just how well Australian employees are treated compared to LA and New York. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you want to find Robyn, or she likes to be called Rob, actually,
Yes, I do.
you
It's
find
Rob.
her on LinkedIn.
You
You can
can.
find her website at cpoconnect.com.au. And you have something that you would like to promote today, Rob.
Look, I do. We would like to offer your listeners, we have up to five, Rose. We've been speaking a lot about compliance. So we are happy to offer 5 listeners who might be business owners a complimentary review of their compliance. And we can provide them with a report and what might need to be updated. So while I say certainly we have a GPT for that, and we do, it does a little bit of the work. We got to anonymize everything, and we also have to triple check everything. So it's a lot of time for us to do that, but we'd like to offer that to 5 of your listeners. If they would like to take up that offer, please get in touch with us at cpoconnect.com.au.
And mention talking with the experts, and they will know where you heard that offer from.
Indeed. Thank you, Rose. It's been great speaking with you.
You, Robyn. Thank you, Rob. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts with Rose Davidson, the podcast that brings you real stories, bold insights, and strategies that work. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favourite podcast channel so you never miss an episode, and dive into our full library anytime at talkingwiththeexperts.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep talking with the experts.